What's going on, everybody? We are talking about 7 deadly sins today. Not too much gameplay, and by too much, I mean literally none at all. We're going to be talking about Escanor. I know you have not heard of this guy before. I know not too many people talk about him, really. Um, Kind of an underrated character, but I did want to point out a couple things just to see. So, there's been some talk about him, obviously, coming in and being really good and breaking the game and basically uh, killing everything, right? Like he's going to come in and obliterate the meta, and nobody is going to stand a chance against Escanor. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Escanor, and we're going to determine if we think Escanor is normal, like good. Obviously, he's really good, but is he going to kill the game? Like, is he going to obliterate everybody or not? Is he overhyped, or is he the one? So let's talk about it. So his first one, Elegant Blow. At a 1 star, it inflicts 240% of his attack onto one enemy. At rank 2, it inflicts damage equal to 300% of his attack on one enemy and gives him an extra alt gauge orb. We'll talk about why that matters later. And then his rank 3 is 500% of his attack plus 2 additional alt gauges. So already that's pretty good. We got Cruel Sun, which does 180% of his attack and ignites. Rank 2, it removes the enemy's buffs, does 100%, 180% and ignites. That's 3 turns of 1 stack of ignite, I believe. And then rank 3 removes all buffs, does 300% attack, and applies 2 ignites. So ignite obviously increases the damage that the opponent takes. That's why Demon Meliodas is so good in the Howlix raid, because he's able to stack those ignites that make Howlix take more damage. Um, Good skills, right? Here's his ultimate. It's called Punishment, which does 840% of his attack on one enemy. Or his bonus one, which is with Merlin, which is Gentleman's Dignity, which does 960% of his attack, which is, that's a lot, right? So, for example, Demon Meliodas with 1 out of 6, or I'm sorry, with 2 out of 6, does 484% of his attack on an ultimate on one enemy. Now it has weak, so it can do 3 times, which would put it at a lot, big boy damage. Escanor doesn't have that weak, but he also doesn't have the need, and even if he did, that would be absurd. Like, it's a flat 960. It's pretty good. I don't think that you're really going to use it, though, because let's talk about homie's passive, right? Right there. The person who stands on the pinnacle, that's this man. That's what they tell me anyway. Removes buffs and debuffs when his ultimate move gauge is completely filled. And then once it is full, it grants him complete debuff immunity. So when he has a completely full ultimate gauge, stuff like King's Petrify or Gother's Attack Seal will no longer work on him. Okay? Now he removes his own buffs, so that's not like basically you want to set him up before you do something like Arthur, because I don't believe that it nullifies buffs. At least based on this wording, it doesn't do that. Either way, um, with these kind of damage multipliers, he doesn't need them, right? So like, let's go back to Elegant Blow, because that's the big boy right here. Elegant Blow does a crazy amount of damage. Crazy amount of damage. 500%. That's stronger than a lot of ultimates, right? Like Demon Meliodas, again, for example, does on his strongest attack 360%, whereas Escanor at 3 stars is doing 500%. And I know Demon Meliodas is not like the DPS god, highest damaging character in the game, but he is a character that just came out, so I feel like that's a pretty good measure for you to use when you're looking at damage output of a character. Like Helbram. Helbram's Fog Wave, his 3-star Fog Wave does 450, whereas Escanor still does 500. I don't know if 500 is the highest flat multiplier there is for like an attack, but it's the highest one that I know of. So the big thing here, though, is you can see that it gives him the 2 ult gauge orbs at 3 stars or the 1 extra ult gauge orb at 2 stars, which would be pretty easy to get with a Gother, right? So you can drop, if you have Gother with him, you can drop probably 2 rank 2 Elegant Blows or 1 rank 3, which is going to do... A rank 3 Elegant Blow is just going to wipe somebody. I mean, 2 rank 2s is probably going to wipe somebody also, right? Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe. Maybe it would. It's going to do a lot of damage. That's the point, is it's going to do a lot of damage. Cruel Sun is okay. I like Elegant Blow more personally. Cruel Sun just seems like a nice counter to stuff like Arthur or maybe, I guess Gil Thunder. You know, people still run Gil Thunder, and he has that flat attack buff. It'll remove a perfect cube, which is good, but it's definitely not the appeal here is Elegant Blow. Okay, so his character associations are with Merlin, Merlin and come on, there we go, Merlin and Gother. So he gets his extra ult with Merlin. Now, for those of you who have red Merlin, you're very lucky because you can just slap her on there and keep your green Merlin on the PvP team. For those of you who have green Merlin, almost a 20% crit chance is super good. But I don't know if it's worth losing out on that extra ult gauge orb, especially for how much he wants to have his ult gauge filled. Might be better just to slap a Gother, like blue Gother, not your red one, not him, your blue one. Slap your blue one on there because that's almost a 20% pierce increase. It's pretty good. And blue Gother is fucking nothing. Or even the free Gother, who cares? Just use the red Gother, like everybody else. Come on. Okay, so this now brings us to the question that I said we were going to discuss, and that is Escanor going to obliterate the game or not? Curious to see what you guys think in the comments of this video, by the way, if you think that Escanor is too strong or not. Personally, I don't think so. He's going to upend a lot of blue characters, like Galland is going to get popped. I don't think you're going to see Galland very much anymore. I think that specific ult rush team that uses Merlin, King, Gother, and Diane, I don't know, I'm going to say Diane. That one's probably not going to really work anymore because, I mean, Escanor is just going to pop one of them immediately, right? But I've seen talk that he's going to stop Kingbrum, which obviously is the team of King, Helbrum, Gother, and Merlin. I don't see that happening, personally. I really don't see that happening. He could theoretically pop King, right? I mean, he hits really hard. If he opens a round with all of the cards that he needs, he could theoretically blast King immediately. Like if you start the round early and you draw into like a Cruel Sun and 2 Elegant Blows, King's probably getting popped, man. Like that's just the way it is. King's probably getting popped. But if you don't do that, like if you can't kill King before Helbrum and them get to go, it's really not all that different than playing Kingbrum normally. Like the only way that he quote-unquote counters Kingbrum, in my opinion, is that he has an RNG-based potential to kill King before the team gets going. Now, most Kingbrum teams eat CC food, so I don't know if Escanor will always go first or not. They generally eat CC food because Helbrum has shitty CC. So, I'm sorry, bad CC. Helbrum has bad CC. So, they buff it up with CC food so they can go first, so they can start their shenanigans right away. I don't know if Escanor will have enough CC to counter that without using CC food himself. But even if he does, he still is going to need to draw 3 attacks. I don't think 2 attacks, even with a Gother buff, will necessarily guarantee that you wipe King every single time. It could. I mean, 300% is a lot, right? So, like, but the problem is if you don't draw 3 attacks, you're drawing 1 Elegant Blow and you're drawing 1 Cruel Sun. So Cruel Sun is only going to do 180 with the Ignite, and then you'll hit the Elegant Blow for 300 plus the additional 10%. I don't know if that will kill King. It'll hurt King. But the problem is if you don't kill King, who cares, right? He can heal it off. He can petrify somebody on the next turn. So you have to go first, and you have to kill King, which probably is going to require 2 Elegant Blows to do, you know? So Cruel Sun, like, that's cool and all, but it doesn't even get a damage increase at rank 2. All it does is remove buffs, which King isn't even going to have on the first turn. So even if you start the round with Gother buffing Escanor to 2-star with a Cruel Sun and with a Elegant Blow, it's not going to do it. You know what I mean? It's not enough. So, yes, he can nuke King. but he's not always going to be able to do it. Even if you start with, like you go first. It's not just the RNG, well, I guess it's not really RNG, but it's not just the race of who's going to go first, do I have enough CC to go first, but it's also the RNG of did I draw into 3 Escanor cards. Now, a lot of people probably are looking at that passive, which we will enhance. It's too much. There we go. Okay, so a lot of people are probably looking at this and thinking, oh great, so when he has a full ult gauge, that's it. He is no longer subject to Kingbrim shenanigans. Not really, because let's say, I mean, first off, Hellbrim's attack, Fog Wave, takes away an ult gauge orb automatically, so Hellbrim can easily stop Escanor from proccing this ever. And he's doing super damage, like he's doing, I don't want to say super effective because this isn't Pokemon, but he's doing bonus damage based on typing every single time he uses it. So every single time he hits Escanor with a Fog Wave, Escanor is now vulnerable again to Kingbrim shenanigans. And let's say that you pop King early, Merlin is dropping who can also do this, right? So like, Kingbrim has 2 characters that basically are designed to never let him have this. And so, Escanor obviously, I mean, it's kind of neat that we may not want to even use his ult, because you want to keep that immunity. But against a team like Kingbrim, that's designed to not get ulted, you're not really going to be able to do it. Now, it is going to be harder to spam stone Escanor, because Escanor is probably going to run with Escanor, King, and Gother, right, as his team. So a Kingbrim team looking at that has to assess already, like, okay, I can't petrify anybody other than King because I have to operate on the assumption that King can get rid of it and it will waste it, right? So yeah, they can't just spam paralyze Escanor, like, right offhand. But does that really make that big of a difference? Like, I don't know. I just don't see the logic behind the assumption that he kills Kingbrim. It just doesn't really make any sense. I think for PvE, obviously, he's a god. Absolute god tier. Monster. He applies Ignite. Super good effect. He does crazy damage. He becomes immune to shenanigans. I mean, a beast. And I think in PvP, he will probably be either the best or second best team in the game. But I still think you're going to see Kingbrim everywhere. And I don't think he really deals with Kingbrim without King's help. And if he doesn't have King's help, like, if you draw into 2 paralyzes, or 2 petrifies, plus a Gother card, like a Gother invasion arrow, you're just out of luck. Like, what are you going to do? He's not going to eat but so many petrifies and fog waves, right? Like, he's not going to sit there and just tank Hellbrim. Hellbrim actually hits really hard. I think, like, because people look at him as, like, a tricky, sneaky little petrify character, Fog Wave hits hard as hell. So Fog Wave at 2-star does 300%, and at 3-star does 450%. So, like, Escanor's going to be eating it when he gets hit by Hellbrim, right? Plus, you can get petrified by King. Maybe their other King can't keep up. I don't know. The main thing here is that, other than being a significant threat to King, Escanor is really not that big of a threat to Hellbrim. So you've got 2 aspects of the team that one is very badly affected by Escanor, and one isn't really bothered by Escanor at all. And then, if King dies, you lose out on a source of Petrify, but you bring in Merlin, who is an additional source of ult nullification. So, with Merlin and Hellbrim both on the board, Escanor is really never going to get this passive, right? Pretty much never. Because why would you let him have it? Like, I guess he could free... I don't know. I mean, he could free himself, I guess. I assume if his ult orbs fill up while he's petrified, he'll break out, right? Like, so that would be cool. But you gotta, I don't know. You gotta commit. I assume it'll work, and that's cool and all, but, like, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Like, even if he's completely immune to petrification, that's not all that Kingbrim does. Hellbrim hits really hard, and their ults are really quick to build. Plus, if he gets attack sealed by Gother, he still has to build his ult gauge to get it off. Otherwise, he can't use D-Enhance. D-Enhance. Okay. Otherwise, he can't use Elegant Blow anymore, because even at 3 stars, Elegant Blow gets sealed by Gother's attack seal. So, yes, he's good. No, I don't think he kills the team. And I almost think he's like a shadow buff to the team because, and only because, Galland really ruins Kingbrim's day. So Kingbrim comes out and they see a Galland and like an Arthur duo, and they're immediately like, great, okay. So there's a 66% chance I'm going to have to play this whole round without one of my two main characters. So Galland counters Kingbrim much better than Escanor does, because he does it without having to play a card. He just drops, and by existing, he does it. And he's not dependent on RNG drawing into his counter. Like, you can say that Galland deletes King or Helbram from existence by not letting them petrify, and then you could say, oh, well, Escanor does the same thing to King if he goes first, and if he gets 2 elegant blows, he will do that to King, and that's true. But Galland doesn't need any of that stuff. Galland just needs to be over there, living and breathing, and doing that weird laugh that he does, and twirling his thing, and automatically one of your characters is useless. Like, God forbid that hits Helbram. Because if his taunt hits Helbram, Helbram can't even do damage, because he's going to be throwing his orbs into a blue unit. Like, yeah, he can still burn down Galland if he gets enough, like, Gother support, but you're already at the position where you're not nullifying things anymore. So basically you're relying on King to stop the enemy King. Gother, not Gother, I'm sorry. Galland is a mess for King to deal with. But luckily, he's super fragile, and Escanor is just going to pop him like a zit, dude. He's just going to walk in and blow this man to pieces. So nobody's going to play him anymore. Or the people that do play him are not going to rank up as highly as the people who don't play him, because they're worried about Escanor. So they're going to start running into more and more Escanor teams, and it's going to be harder and harder to get up to the higher tiers, where Kingbrim is going to have a bit more freedom to operate. Because Escanor, while he's a tough fight, he's probably going to be the other best team in the game, is an Escanor-based PvP team. It's a tough fight. But it's much more manageable than Galland, man. Y'all are too mean to him. Galland is fighting for his life out here against all these Kingbrims, and y'all are just hating on him. I guess that's my point. I'm sorry for this rambling, but I think it's important to talk about, because a lot of people are treating Escanor like he's going to drop and be like Gogeta from Year 1 of Dokkan, right? Where it's just like, who cares what you're doing? Gogeta just kills. Like, you know what I mean? Where he's just going to come out and then the game is going to explode and bow down before Escanor, and I don't think that's the case. I think the meta is going to become Kingbrim versus Escanor, King, and Gother. Which for some reason doesn't have a name. I guess we'll just call it Team Escanor. But that's what I think. Is he overrated? Probably a little. I just don't think he's as good as everyone is saying he is. I do think that he's really good. He might be the best individual unit in the game that isn't Gother. So it's hard for me to say overrated, because he's really good. So calling him overrated feels stupid. But I don't think he is. I think he's just being hyped up to the point where he's being treated like this game-ending god tier unit. Where, like, look at someone like Gother, right? If you're fighting against someone who has Gother and you don't, God, that feels bad. Like, what do? He just makes his entire team so much better than your team for no effort. Like, what do? If you're fighting against Escanor, as someone without Escanor, you also have to have a top tier team to deal with him because he's a top tier, but it just feels much more manageable, right? Like, he's just hitting you hard. Now, I mean, this is the point where, like, 500% attack is stronger than a lot of, like, I think it's stronger than Helbram's ultimate. Yeah, granted, Helbram's ultimate is AoE, but still, it is. So, like, that's a lot of damage. This man's doing a lot of fat damage. And so it's not so much just don't let them get orbs anymore and I'll be fine, like it is now. Like with Helbram right now, and King, so Kingbrim, basically. If you stop the enemy from ulting, you just win, because they can't do anything. That's not going to be the case with Escanor, because Escanor can just pop these people. He's just going to crack you with Rita, and you're going to explode. He doesn't need his ultimate to do that, and that's probably why he does so much damage with that full ult gauge, so you don't have to use it, so you can keep his passive going. But I just think it's going to be a tug of war. I think he's a good check for Kingbrim. Like, Kingbrim has to fight him intelligently. They can't just walk up and just start throwing hands. But he's not a counter. He's just not a counter. He's just a check that they can deal with. You know, he's not a counter, you guys. He's not a counter. So, final verdict. Is he overrated? Not really. But he doesn't counter Kingbrim. That's it. final verdict is Helbram lives. The rat sin of Helbram lives. That's all I got. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit, because I've seen a lot of talk about Escanor, and I felt it only right that I give my my thoughts on it. So, alright guys, I will see you soon for more Grand Cross content. We're definitely going to be pulling on Escanor whenever he comes. The assumption is that he will drop either next week or the week after for Golden Week, because the game is at the point where it's running out of stuff to do. Right? So, like, they got to get Chapter 8 in here, and they can't get Chapter 8 in here without Escanor, so I assume he's coming very soon. Save for him. They may switch banner order around. Maybe they drop Blue Demon Meliodas next week, or Lilia next week, and then Escanor's the week after. I wouldn't really recommend going in on either of them over Escanor, but it's entirely your call. So, I will see you guys next time. We'll definitely be doing some more PvP videos where I make people angry by petrifying them a lot. We'll definitely be doing some cooking. The cooking video. I am going to do it. I promised I would do it, so I'm going to do it. That will be up soon. I have to edit it. You know, that's one that I can't just record. I have to manually edit everything to make it palatable. And that will happen soon too, so look forward to that. Alright, everybody. Good night. See ya. Bye. I can't end videos in either game, apparently.